Trinity Bellwoods Park is in one of Toronto's best neighborhoods. It is one of the best neighborhoods because of the quality of life here. We have amazing artists in the community. We have natural heritage, it's part of the old Garrison Creek Ravine, and we have beautiful built heritages here, like these gates which were restored a few years ago and go back to 1903, which are the only remnant of the old Trinity College that used to be in these grounds. Toronto is a beautiful city because it's a city of neighborhoods, and the parks are an integral part of each and every neighborhood. Trinity Bellwoods Park and the Trinity Bellwoods neighborhood are a perfect example of every part of the city they should be. Whether it's the HTO Park on Toronto's harbourfront, the Lamoureux Park in Scarborough, or Centennial Park in Etobicoke, this is what we should be doing. We should be providing places for people to better lead our lives. And by the way, it doesn't have to cost much, if any, additional money, because the private sector is often prepared to provide contributions. I know I've been able to do that in the past. And secondly, the community is more than prepared to provide its own creativity for its own neighborhood, because people like to be proud of the neighborhood and local park where they live and their families live as well. The Trinity Rec Centre was Toronto's oldest rec centre, built in the 1950s. Very inefficient because it was outdated and it was no good for the environment as well. So therefore it needed retrofits. And what happens during amalgamation in 1997, after 1997, there was talk at City Hall, say, you know what, let's postpone this project. We got financial issues here and so forth. And I insisted that that not occur. I insisted that it be retrofitted. So therefore, as a result of that now, it's very human-friendly because you have more open spaces. Secondly, you have environmentally friendly. So there's solar panels on top, for example, and also the water runoff gets put into the park. That way, nature cleans up the water rather than a plant, an engineering plant, which requires a lot of energy to do it, which produces greenhouse emissions and so forth. So really is a beautiful spot which is incredibly used, and it's a perfect example what I think we need to do across the city. Trinity Rec Centres should be in every significant park and every significant neighborhood in Toronto, and that's why the city has to spend some money into it, because otherwise we deteriorate. Because if you're wealthy, you don't need the Trinity Rec Centre equivalent, because you can go to the cottage, you can go to the Caribbean and so forth. But if you're the average Torontonians, this is essential to maintaining quality of life, healthy neighborhoods where people want to stay and live in the city and work in the city, and by so doing enrich everybody in the city. West Queen West is a perfect example of a commercial strip should be across the whole city of Toronto. It's the Art and Discovery District. That's the formal designation. So you have local fashion designers which are creating and unique shopping areas. And you even have a famous fish and chip place called Chippy's, which on the weekend you have to line up to get to. The life of the city happens on our linear piazzas, if you will, which are basically the commercial strips like West Queen West. MOCA, the Museum of Contemporary Canadian Art, is on West Queen West, the Art and Design District. And I'm proud to say that I was responsible for ensuring that he landed here. It was in a corner of the city where really people were not going to. And it wasn't questionable what its future was going to be. And I worked with the people who run it, the volunteers, members of the board, and the city to make sure that we found a location on Queen Street, which I helped to find across from the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health, actually, where it now has been an amazing success, which is providing exposure for Canadian artists, and by so doing enriching us not only culturally but in terms of job creation, because small business creates a lot of jobs as well as allowing the creativity of the city to give it expression. Public spaces are perfect spots for public art installations, whether it's a Howling Wolf or the Illuminato boat. Illuminato, by the way, is one of those wonderful festivals where most of its productions are free, and to locate them in areas where people naturally can go to, which are public realm spaces, whether it's Yonge Dantas Square, whether it's Trinity Bellwoods Park, where there is exhibition space on the waterfront. That's what we must do, use our public spaces to allow the creativity of Torontonians to exhibit itself and celebrate all that we are. CAMH, the Center for Addiction and Mental Health, is located on West Queen West, and it is an amazing place because it provides mental health, basically, for Torontonians and Canadians. And I, as the councillor for the area and as deputy mayor, I've been very pleased to be able to guide it through its transformation from a monolithic, one purpose only, into basically a multi-use regular neighborhood, in effect, whereby you have streets going through it where there were no streets before, where you will have some private housing where there were none before, where you have regular stores where there were none before. Therefore, you remove the stigma that somehow you have to be put in behind walls and cordon off from the rest of society. Where, anybody who's got mental health issues is like anybody else, and therefore he's got to fit into the urban fabric like everybody else does. And you know what? He's getting applause all over the place, and rightly so. I am Joe Pantalone, and I strongly believe in a sustainable Toronto for our communities, for our economy, and for our environment. Join me at mayorjoe.ca.